Alright guys and gals, it's Pickle here. Gonna give you a T1 Strike Fighter build. So for me, I have no real specific build that I will always fly. Mainly because the Ricer is like a Swiss Army knife. You can turn it into a lot of different things. But for me specifically, a straight pile driver has been most effective for me. So that's what I'm going to go in today. Mostly, I will give my ideas on different components briefly, and let's get into this. So for primary weapons, obviously you're going to want heavy laser cannon. There are builds that don't use them, but I am just a victim whenever I've tried them. Like a rapid fire with ion. No, big negative. So for heavy, obviously you're going to use ignore armor and shield piercing. You can use increased shield damage if you're going to go ion with the drain shield. I mean, that just makes them disappear. So that's very strong, but not my favorite. Typically, I would go with the drain weapon power because that really helps in a dogfight. So for quads, I go reduce power cost and hull damage. This is really big because pile driving takes up an excessive amount of energy, especially if you miss. It hurts when you miss one of the blasters in that pile drive, but it really hurts when you miss both and you just see this big chunk of your weapon energy go down. So that really helps. For the secondary weapon, there are good uses for all the missiles, but lately cluster missiles has been really good to me. My ability to lock those on effectively onto people is levels above any of the other ones, uh, mainly because of how little time I have to spend trying to lock on, but the amount of time they get away also with protons. Like I could dodge protons all day long until, of course, I retro and then someone comes in behind me and shoots a proton up my butt. Like Dash. Fucking Dash. You my boy Dash. Uh, so with this, I go increase the ammo capacity because I use these a lot with the double volley. Very strong. For shields, this is up for debate between some people. People have their preferences. I know a lot of people who use feedback shield only. I use feedback sometimes, but anybody who's good is going to get through that feedback fairly easily, and then you're going to just be exposed for a wrecking. A lot of people also like directional shields. I do not recommend these unless you are very good at them. I have played with them for a long time, and I still find myself accidentally switching to my rear shields when I've got someone directly in front of me and they just turn me into space dust. Or dogfighting with someone and then just getting shot in the butt by a gunship and vaporized because your hull was completely exposed. So for me, I really like the quick charge shield, but there's a big thing with the quick charge that I like a lot too, which is the engine power recently consumed regeneration rate. That for me is huge because I do a lot of zipping around, and the ability to regenerate engines faster has been more beneficial to me than the damage reduction you get from directional shields or the crushing shock damage you get from feedback, which is so nice to see when someone blows themselves up with this. But yeah, for this build, we're going to go quick charge because it's easy to remember, and with the low cooldown, you can pretty much just have this up all the time. I use it right when I leave the starting point for the regeneration rate alone on my engines. Because by the time I get there and I'm going through whatever I'm going through with someone in a dogfight, I've already it's already on cooldown. I'm ready for it again. And then there's a discussion to be had between, do you use this before you get hit or after you've been hit? And I find way more success using it right before I get hit. That way, my max shields are as high as they can go, and the regeneration rate is already like ticking. Everything's ticking, and I did it right before they started shooting me, so I'm getting the most benefit out of it. Whereas, say you use it after you've been hit, and say it's a strong hit, someone else is pile driving you, or you just got hit by a rail gun from a gunship, the amount of shields that it gives you back just doesn't feel like enough. It's nice, but it's just like you got to get out of there. And whereas that's really nice with the regeneration rate and all that, because you can just instantly dip around an asteroid or something, flip on your shield overdrive, and get all that back real quick and get back into the fight. And during that pause, your engine power has regenerated already, which is really nice because there is a delay. Your shields will only go up after a certain amount of seconds after getting hit. Your engines will only go up after a certain amount of time that you've stopped boosting. And same with your blasters. They only start recharging after a certain amount of time once you've shot your last shot. For my engines, I go with retro. I've played barrel roll and kilogram term. It's fun, nice. Even weapon power converter, I've had some uh, good kills with, but all out, the retro with turning is king for me. Capacitors, I switch up, especially on this build, depending on what I want to do. Range is really nice. I'm having a lot of fun with that. Damage is so good, though, especially if you can get up close and get successful pile drives on them. It does an insane amount of damage. For magazine, obviously using regeneration extender because you are pile driving, and you want this back as fast as possible. Reactor, large reactor. You can go turbo, especially with the quick charge shield, uh, but that's for much more elusive play styles where you dive in, you do what you need to do, and then you dive out as soon as the first sense of danger happens. But for me, I'm more like Leroy Jenkins, where I'm going to the back of your line and I'm taking out as many people as I can with me before I get taken out. So having more is a little bit better because I don't have time to recharge. I'm already dead, but I've taken two of you with me. Thrusters, I go with turning. You can go regeneration if you're having trouble with your energy management, but you are not going to outturn any scout that's worth a damn. You might be able to get away for a little while, but they will find you. So turning for me, especially against pilots like Dash or Remiscui, anybody who flies a good scout, I need to be able to drift and strafe as fast as they can. Of course, they're going to be a little bit faster, but if you strafe, which I will go to in detail in another video, you'll be able to match them quite well without feeling like, oh, they're always behind me some reason. They're always, even when they were in front of me, now they're behind me. How does this happen? Well, it's because they strafed, and instead of just turning up down, they're on the side of you, just shooting you, laughing to themselves. It's good times. For co-pilot, I go with Solana Rock for the wingman. A lot of people really like Hydrospanner, and I Don't disagree with them. Hydrospanner is great. Unfortunately, for imp side, the options on crew members is lackluster at best. But even on pub side, I still go wingman, but it is easier to get hydrospanner with BG over there. For my offensive, always Jessa, especially on imp side. MZ is great for the hydrospanner, but ammo capacity and rapid reload is just not what I need on a Piledriver. So I always go with Jessa. Defensive, you can go either Wraith or Vector with quick charge shields. A lot of people will say use Wraith for the regeneration delay. It's really strong, but I like not getting hit at all. So evasion for me will always be king. Tactical, I use Solana. You could always use Quinn, uh, depending on what you really like. Do you like running silent or comm boost? I'm finding comm boost being a little bit more effective for me and my teammates. And engineering, I've had big success with vet actually, but the reduction on the cost of my maneuver on the retro has gotten me out of a lot more trouble. Um, and Blizz is good if you're going to use Hydrospin. I'd rather use Blizz than uh, MZ12. But still, when I use Blizz, I feel like I'm underpowered because I have no blasters anymore. So I always go with 2V. And that will be it for my Piledriver build. I'll go into detail about how to pile drive in another video along with strafing, and will help all you younger pilots learn to fly a little bit better, hopefully, and also dispel some myths of like crazy hacks or something that good pilots always get blamed for. Uh, Most of them are hacking. I know some of them, a lot of them are. Especially Blue. She hacks a lot. Bitch. um, but seriously, a lot of people find it distressful when they get one shot, or what they think has they've been one shot when it's actually been probably 3 or 4 shots, just in rapid succession. So again, that will be on a different video. Don't know if that will be today, but yes. It's Pickle Rick out.